now it's time to turn it up. Surf the radio waves as we begin to burn it up. We all up in your area like landscape, definitely bringing you the power slam and pancakes. It's the mandate that you tune in. It's time to move out so we can move in and recognize that this is no illusion. I'm here to clear the air so that there is no confusion. It all started off in the book of Genesis when Jacob was wrestling with who he thought was his nemesis. And when the man saw he couldn't overpower him, he touched his hip but he really could have devoured him. And from that point then we hear a name change, rearrange the game, so now we gotta change lanes. So I'm here to let you know it's time to listen to the Pancake and Power Slam show. Let's go! Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam show. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Power Slam show. Turn it up.
You are now listening to the Pancakes and Powerslam show by Crave Wrestling on Blog Talk Radio. Be sure to follow Crave Wrestling on Twitter at Crave Wrestling and join the Facebook fan page Crave Wrestling.
And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 391st episode of the Pancakes and Powerslam show. Wowzers, 391 straight weeks we have been doing this show. Can you believe that? Can you believe that we have been doing this show for almost 400 straight weeks? Beat that, Monday Night Wars. Almost, we're approaching 7.5 years, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, next week, I believe, will be 7.5 years. Or a week and a half or around there. It's 2 weeks. It'll be 7.5 years that we've been doing the show every single week. Just live to living color, getting funky like a monkey, if you will. We've had the best pro wrestling talent on this show. I've had over 150 wrestlers on this show. That's just counting the wrestlers. I think interviews were approaching, I don't know, probably 250, 300, somewhere around there. It's been a lot, and this person has been on the show a few times, and this person I really enjoy being on the being on the show. He's been on here. I think this is his second or third time on the show, maybe third. I'll find that out, but I think third time on the show. He probably knows. But I enjoyed him. I enjoy him every single time he's on the show, and he's has a world of insight. And you know what? Like I said before, man, there's just certain people that's you just really love interviewing. Yes, he was on April of 2018 and February of this year. So this is the third time that he's been on the show. So number 3. So, it's just there's certain people who you just love interviewing, and not necessarily only because of the interviewing point. It's because you realize that behind all the interviewing, they're just really nice people. And this person is one of those, just a really, really cool guy. That's, I'll check on and see how he's doing. And, I enjoy having the ability to really check on him and see how he's doing. And he's doing well. We'll talk about that now, and we'll also talk about it on the live Q&A, whatever you have. The PNP Nation has. The PNP Nation is always super duper lit, always having the fun episode every single week with all of the excitement that you all bring. So I'm sure you're not going to let this person down, just like you never let any of my guests down. Once again, he's back on the scene. He's back on the Pancakes and Powerslam show. He is Chris Masters. How are you tonight, sir?
Hey, brother. How you doing? I appreciate all the kind words you said, by the way. That was really nice, and I'm definitely glad to be back on. And yeah, man, I was gonna guess about three times too. So we were both thinking about 3. So,
yep.
But congrats on what was it, 391?
391.
Weeks, you're saying?
391.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, did New Day come? Was Pancakes and Powerslams before New Day?
New Day started.
I'm just thinking because the play on Pancakes.
Yes, I believe. Let me see. The New Day started. And if you can do me a favor and bump your volume up a little bit. Let me see. The New Day debuted on July 21st, 2014. And the Pancakes and Powerslam show debuted in April of 2012. So we've got them by over 2 years. Yeah.
See? So I don't know. I was curious. I always liked the title, Pancakes and Powerslams. And then I just thought about I mean, New Day freaking throws out pancakes every time they go out, right? That's their thing.
Yep. Yeah. That's right.
Moral of the story is everybody loves pancakes.
Yes, everybody loves pancakes. The Pancakes and Powerslams actually came from. I've shared this story before, and it's definitely worth sharing again. It's when I started in the podcast business. I've been a journalist for a while, and I realized that the podcast business was kind of started to boom a little bit, started to get some traction. Back in 2012, it wasn't nearly as popular as it was now. Now it's like a dime a dozen.
Can you believe it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's so many podcasts now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, man, it's a podcast everywhere.
They're great, though. I mean, they're great,
Yeah. Back in 2012, it definitely wasn't like that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to I don't know anything about this. I just know about writing. I'm a good writer, but anything, podcasting, all that, I don't know anything about this. So I started, and the goal was to do it in the morning. And that's where Pancakes and Powerslams came from, because it was supposed to be a play on morning wrestling. So, wrestling or wrestling commentary in the morning. And so the very first episode was a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And that was kind of like a pilot type of episode. And so I aired it there, and the numbers weren't where I wanted to be. And so we changed it from 9 a.m. Tuesday morning to 11 p.m. Tuesday night. So from the second show on, it's been 11 p.m. Tuesday nights. And so you can eat pancakes any day of the week. So we just kept the pancakes.
No need to change it.
Yeah, exactly. no need to change it. I eat pancakes, any time of the day. I love pancakes, and so
I do love the podcasting. I love I love this form of broadcasting, whether it be podcast or like even Howard Stern or even AM radio. It's just great with radio because you're able to get these more intimate looks at people, just like what we're doing right now. You're able to have a conversation with me, and we can talk about stuff in a longer form. With television, it's usually much shorter.
Yes, yes, 100%. I agree. I don't know if it's me, but maybe your volume is a little low. So let's see.
Is it? My volume still bad?
Yeah, the volume's still down. It might be.
I'm taking you off my.
Let's see. It might be me.
You might be able to hear me better now.
A little bit. But we'll make it. We'll make it happen.
I'll try to speak up.
It might be me, but I just turned you up on my end, so I think the listeners can hear you fine. So we'll be fine. It's cool. All right, so the peoples are loading up. The PNP Nation's loading up in the chat room. So people have so the typical hashtag is Ask Chris for me. So we'll do Ask CM. So hashtag Ask CM. So as the questions are rolling in, Chris, what's new with you, man? I know that last time we chatted, I was supposed to be meeting up with you during WrestleMania weekend, but unfortunately our schedules didn't allow that to happen. You had
well, we'll make that happen at some other point. Yeah, I actually just moved back from Canada back to Los Angeles, and I'm happy as can be to be back home. It's beautiful out here, and I mean, Toronto is a great place, but when you don't grow up, when you grow up on the West Coast, dealing with that weather is really a challenge. So
yes.
I found myself not really leaving the house in the wintertime.
Yes. I didn't know you were on the East Coast. I didn't know you were in Canada. How long were you in Canada?
I spent 3 years there, man.
Really?
I did my 3 years, and I just came back. Yeah, I met a woman and moved down there and just kind of got away for a little bit. And, but I always had the intention of coming back. I just didn't know it would be 3 years. So, it's been amazing, coming back and just reconnecting with a lot of my old people out here.
Nice.
Freaking weather is great. And, the wrestling scene has gotten amazing out here within the last couple of years. It was never like this before. So, there's a lot to be happy about.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So you were a fellow East Coaster with me. So the other times you were on the line with me, you were bearing the time frame like me, the fellow East Coaster. So yeah, that's.
It was much easier to do the interview this time.
Yeah.
In this, because now it's only 7:55 p.m. for me, as opposed to last time when it was actually 10:55 p.m. It was like, usually I'm on my way to passing out around 11 p.m. most nights.
Yeah. Yeah. It's West Coast time. That's the benefit of West Coast time. I'm so used to East Coast time. And every time the furthest I've went was just an hour away. I need to go on the West Coast just to experience it. The furthest west I've been I've been to Chicago, and that's Midwest. I've been like east. I've been like south and southeast and northeast. Like most of I've done so much traveling there, but I haven't went anywhere out west. Like I haven't went to Colorado.
Yeah,
Idaho,
and I'll tell you this, man.
Any of it.
I mean, I got to tell you, the whole East Coast, West Coast thing, there's definitely a different vibe in the West. It's we get our business handled, but it's, much more kind of chill vibe. And, that's why when I talk about my time in Toronto, it's more just, the weather on the East Coast and the, also it's very, very crowded up there. A lot of people, there's a lot more space when you talk about places like Colorado and Utah. You have all this open space and great landscapes, and it's just, you can feel it's just a whole different vibe on this side, and I felt that when I've gone to Portland, Oregon, the same thing. It's very chill up there, and even British Columbia, Vancouver up there, beautiful province in Canada. That place is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've been to Canada. It's funny because when I went to Buffalo, New York, my wife and I, we went to Buffalo for one of our years, anniversary years. We went to Buffalo, New York, and we went on a boat ride. And
that does not sound fun to me. Buffalo, New York, and a boat ride.
Yeah. We went to we did the Niagara.
Wow.
So we did the Niagara.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, Niagara's pretty dope.
Yeah. So it was like a cruise boat type of ride. It was a pretty nice ride, a couple hours, and so we journeyed through the Niagara, and they were sharing the stories and everything, and so we were illegally. So part of the boat ride is like chartering in Niagara, the Canada part of Niagara. And so, so technically we were in Canada water-wise, not land, but water-wise. So I can technically say I've been in Canada based on the boat ride facts that it was in the water part of it. So
that's amazing that, they don't even have a customs out there. They're very strict at that border. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a lot of wrestlers who, from Canada that'll try to come to America to work and vice versa. And they've gotten heavy fines labeled on them because they'll say they're not going there to work, and then they'll check their car and they'll see gear, and then they'll check on the internet. They'll see these people advertise, and I know people have been banned.
Really? They do that?
Yeah. Like,
they check bookings and stuff.
Not permanently banned, but there's a strict sentence. I don't remember specifically what it is, but I remember when I was in Canada and I've worked with some of these guys on the indie shows out there. I've spoken to a few of them who couldn't go to the U.S. for X amount of time because they had been busted under the situation we were just talking about now. So, I hear it's much easier, though, for Americans to go to Canada and work. It's, there's not as strict about you going to work. And it's more America that is kind of, real harsh about it.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that they went to the extent of checking bookings on the internet and stuff like that. That's
well, even I remember my girl and me got stopped, and I remember I've been stopped at customs a few times, and they have no problem going to the internet to look up anything, and you can find a lot of, especially when you're obviously you have you're somewhat of a public figure or whatever. They can find stuff about you much easier.
Yeah. That's crazy. So Gabriel said he requested the hashtag of Ask Masterpiece. Okay, that works. We'll do that. Ask Masterpiece. All right, so let's get these questions rolling in, guys. What questions do you have for my buddy Chris Masters here, or Chris Adonis? You go by Adonis on the Indies, right?
No, that was only for Impact Wrestling, and I keep it as a Twitter handle because I got verified through Impact Wrestling. So if I change it, I'll lose my verification. But I mean, most people know me as Masters, and it just sounds better, I think.
I agree. Yeah. Chris Masters is what you've been known by. So that's weird. So you didn't get verified as Masters while you were in the WWE?
Well, no, all that's the verification,
that's
my
relatively
last deal
new.
with WWE was 2011.
Yeah.
And a lot, social media was, establishing itself, but it wasn't kind of as solidified as it is now, where I think they have the verifications and all that. So, I didn't have it for a long time until I was with Impact, and then I requested it, and I was able to do it. There's a few guys having trouble doing it now, but a lot of it, I think, is you have to be tied to some kind of big company unless you have a certain amount of followers, I guess, or something like that.
Okay. Got it. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. So you wouldn't be able to change it to Masters and then get re-verified?
Well, I might have some difficulty doing it, so I just haven't thought to do it. I thought about it at one point, but then if I lose the verification, I'd rather people, because if you type Chris Masters in on Twitter, it's still going to direct you right to the Adonis handle anyway, know?
That's true, yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Well, we got a question here from Lexi. She's asking, what was your most profound memory from your submission match with Cena and Angle? How would you have changed the finish of the match? Great question.
Oh, it was... I would have put myself over, obviously, but
yeah.
I think the memory I have from that match actually distinctly is, I think it was my first title shot on Raw, which was pretty cool, at main event on Raw. But also, I think that was the first time Cena used the STF, and if I'm not mistaken, and boy, he really he choked the hell out of me. I was literally turning purple.
Oh wow. So
yeah, they used it as a promotional picture. I remember every time I'd see it, you could see just anguish, the pain and anguish in my face. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Now, has there been any times where he's executed that move and has drawn heat in the back? Because he does put some torque on that on that move. I mean, eventually got to the point where he would barely even do it. He would just kind of extend his arms. I wonder if that was because he was doing it improperly in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm assuming he might have probably did it similar to the way he did to me, to maybe Kurt Angle at one point, and Kurt probably asked him to line up. I mean, this is just me speculating, but I imagine something like that probably happened, because it wasn't I'm not saying that Cena hadn't necessarily intended it. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, whatever. But I do know about Cena is when he would get real fired up out there. And, he's not trying to stiff nobody, but he's definitely intense and may not even know his own strength, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can definitely tell that.
I mean, I can tell you through by taking his punches, it was all the same things. So, those were very heavy hands.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any backstage heat moment that you remember with Cena after one of his matches with someone because he was kind of got a little bit too intense?
Well, not really too much. I mean, Cena was, he's in like the top spot in the whole company. So, I don't think anybody was necessarily trying to challenge him. And, there just wasn't that kind of vibe about Cena in terms of, we need to confront him or anything like that. He was a hard worker, and despite what people say about him, he took care of business. I mean, he showed up every day to work, and, there wasn't much you could pick apart in terms of his, how much of a hard worker he was, and consistent and all that. So I can't remember anything like that. I mean, if there was any instances like that, it was done outside the eye of all the boys.
Yeah, he's there's been, of course, there's a lot of he has a stigma of not really pushing the up and comers, but at the same time he also has a very resounding reputation of being one of the hardest workers and having one of the best work ethics in the business. First one to come, last one to leave type of thing. So I think that's, I would say that's one of the biggest reasons why. I mean, of course, Vince saw a lot of potential in him, but I would say that's one of the biggest reasons why, he got the push that he did too, because he saw, that work ethic. And so he's definitely known for that. Yeah. Let's see. Next, we got Mo asking, what wrestling promotion are you wrestling for now? And is there any plans to go back to WWE or to go to AEW?
Well, now I've been, as you already know, I've been wrestling on various independent promotions all over the world. I wrestled for Moose Wrestling just a couple weeks ago, which is basically the only wrestling promotion in all of Hawaii. So it's a pretty awesome deal they got going over there. Nice. We got Aleki and Rain, and I mean, who doesn't want to go to Hawaii to wrestle?
Right.
That's just beautiful. And then, before that, Pakistan, actually, of all places, has become an emerging wrestling market. So there's various promotions there. And I'm currently actually contracted with one of them. It's called Ring of Pakistan. I've gone out there a couple of times to work. So, and then, just various stuff all over. I mean, Cactus League Wrestling this Sunday, which is a promotion based out of Arizona. And there is something else. NPW, which is in, I think, Petaluma, California. So that's on Saturday. So, I mean, just various stuff. But in terms of WWE or AEW, I always say to that, never say never. But I will say that I don't really have any aspirations in pro wrestling anymore outside of doing it the way I'm doing it now. And, I don't have a goal of going back to WWE. I don't have a goal of going to AEW. If anything, I'm just looking for other ways to, create revenue streams and opportunities for myself. Wrestling is always going to be here, and it fills my weekends quite nicely. But Monday through Friday is what I'm looking at.
Nice, yeah. Well, you can always get into the podcast. I couldn't hold that with a straight face.
Oh, yeah, just another podcast. That's exactly what we need.
I couldn't even hold that with a straight face. You can always get into the podcast business. Yeah, so
well, never rule anything out, man. Hey, if I had a very specific idea for a specific type of podcast, I would definitely be game for it. But just to do the Chris Masters podcast, that's not very motivating.
Yeah, what's so funny, man? I was actually thinking about you. I was actually thinking about you about bringing you on as a frequent and maybe doing some type of Master Lock podcast or something like that, and just because you've got a bunch of stuff to share, with your time in WWE and things like that. It's just the only thing about the podcast
well, there's
business.
There's always something to talk about in terms
Yes.
of wrestling, and
Yeah.
and I'm not just talking about like there's always the wrestling that you're seeing on television now. There's always the wrestling that happens in my life on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I mean, like every time I come back from these shows, I mean, there's always stories. As you know, the best stuff happens behind the scenes, and you know, just going from the hotels to the shows and all that stuff. So, that's definitely something I think that would be fun to look into. And like I said, I love, this form of kind of broadcasting anyway. So, it could be fun.
I agree. Maybe that's something we can chat about. I'll be your I'll be the host to your Master Lock podcast. That'll be pretty nice. But yeah, the only thing about that is that there's so many podcasts that's either you have an advantage because you're a wrestler, but like an independent podcaster like me, like if I was to jump in the podcast business like right now, it would be like so difficult. Like thankfully, I'm so blessed that I actually make revenue from this podcast with sponsors and things like that. But and
it's probably good that you started when you did, right?
Exactly.
Because like you said, if you start now, there's just so many of them. How do people even find you? How they get interested?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Now I have a kind of like a portfolio, you know what I mean? Because I've interviewed so many people. I've interviewed a dozen WWE Hall of Famers and, probably 20 plus, shoe-in Hall of Famers. So, and over 150 wrestlers total. And so I think because of that, kind of portfolio, it's easier to find Pancakes and Powerslams because I've been featured on Sports Illustrated, Fox Sports, Wrestling Observer newsletter and things like that. So that helps.
Yeah, I've seen it pop up a few times outside of even the times I've been.
Oh, really? Well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I also another one I really like. I must say to Conrad Thompson, I believe that's his name. The guy who's been doing the with Bruce Pritchard and Bischoff.
Yep.
I mean, it's just really nice to hear memories of these various years of professional wrestling that a lot of us grew up on, and kind of hear what the hell was going on around then. So I've enjoyed those. And
that's the type of style that I like.
And that's a good idea for a podcast too, because there's all this very specific material they have to work with.
Right.
Years of pro wrestling. So it's a great concept. It's a great format. It's a great idea, and the people that are using are great.
I agree with that. I agree with that so much. That's the reason why I'm saying like there's so many podcasts that talks about wrestling. That's the reason why my Pancakes and Powerslams. My deal is a wrestler every week, and then most of the show I talk about just headlines. I really talk a little about like Raw and SmackDown and things like that. It's more of a newsy, because I'm a journalist. It's more of a newsy type podcast. And because the thing is, I always wanted to stand out. It's funny because I have to give credit to somebody, I forgot who it was. I still talk to like a lot of people in the business, and I gotta remember who gave me some good advice on that. But I'll remember it. But so he gave me.
It'll probably come to you after we're done.
Right, exactly. Oh man, I just remember. I'll remember it. He was a writer for WWE. He was a writer for
Dave Lagana.
Dave Lagana, yes. yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I was going to say Impact too.
We actually figured it out.
Yeah, it was Dave Lagana. Yeah, he's been on the show before, but he gave me some advice because I would kind of just ask him some questions, like even like a bunch of times off air and stuff like that. And he gave us some really good advice. of just some nuances of what to do, and yeah, it was pretty cool. So I'm forever thankful for the Dave Laganas and Shane Helms. He gave me some good advice. He gave me some really good encouragement before he came on my show. We were talking off air. He was like, "Yeah, I highly encourage you and I highly commend you for keeping this show as long as it has been and doing it all year." Because he said that he had a show and it was really tough for him to do it, and he would do it seasonal and things like that. And so yeah. Let's see. Another question. Can you name the one wrestler, any promotion that you would want to have a retirement match and possibly pass on the Master Lock?
I don't know. That's a kind of an odd question. Like, I don't know. I guess I'd say my little bro, Austin Theory, but I don't think he needs the Master Lock. He's got a lot of cool offense.
He's really good, man. He's the future for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good kid. I like him.
As young as he is, to have so much ring presence already, that's a big deal, man. So, yeah, definitely a future. So, well, I don't want to hold you any longer, man. I want to respect our time. This is a like whet your appetite. You know, there's so much that I want to talk about more. Maybe if there's time for
I think we should look into what you were talking about. Maybe we can end up doing something. If time allows it. But I appreciate you having me on, and it'd definitely be cool to have something more frequent like you were talking about. So maybe we'll look to doing that.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely game for that. There's thoughts that I have. Like maybe we can do like a post pay-per-view type of podcast, and maybe I can have you on as a monthly, frequent, just to kind of get you.
That's gonna be a tough part, because if I have to sit through wrestling pay-per-views, that might be. We'll see about that one. We'll have to work through the sticking points.
Yeah. Do you watch any of the product anymore?
Only what I see mainly on Instagram. I mean, I stay pretty up on it just because I'm around it all the time in various ways. But, I don't make time for the pay-per-views or for Raw or anything like that. No, not at this point.
Yeah. Would that be something you'd be interested in doing, is getting back into watching it every week, especially with the – now, there's Thursday is literally the only day of the week that there won't be any wrestling. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I can sit through it, honestly. I mean,
3 hours.
Like, under a different format, I can probably do it. But in terms of having to sit through wrestling right now, there's just too much else to do.
So Monday you'll have Monday's Raw, Tuesday's AEW, Wednesday's NXT, Thursday's nothing. Friday's going to be SmackDown.
No, it's an AEW, isn't it?
AEW's Tuesdays.
Wednesday, both. I thought AEW was on.
I'm sorry.
Same night as NXT.
Wednesdays, they're going to be going head to head. Tuesdays is Impact moved to Tuesdays. That's what it was. Impact moved to Tuesdays.
I imagine though, it's really cool because it's as well as I do, probably the most fun that we had as wrestling fans was having various, like the Monday Night Wars and all of that. So I'm not saying it's going to be that, but to have that kind of element, and have AEW on TNT, I mean, that's so nostalgic for all of us.
Yes, I
don't
agree.
Know if were you watching around that time?
Oh, yeah. I've been watching wrestling since, 1985. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, you know what's up then.
Yeah.
You know what's up. I mean, it was the best time. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. But, yeah, man, we'll talk soon. I'm just going to make myself some bison burger right now. The masterpiece has got to eat.
Bison burger? That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a really high-quality source of protein. So, a little nutritional advice for all you aspiring masterpieces out there.
Not bison burger. That's pretty cool. Good stuff, Chris. Well, again for the third time, it's been a pleasure, man. Yeah, I'll be texting you soon, man, so we can talk and brainstorm and we'll make something happen.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Chris Masters back on the show. As always, been a pleasure with Chris Masters. That's really cool, man. Yeah, I was thinking about that. PNP Nation, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about what you want Chris to do. So he's interested in working with me to do like a podcast when it comes to talking about, wrestling stories, but he doesn't want to sit through the current product and do a review show. Oh man, so funny. As many wrestlers I talk to, there's not a lot of people who actually want to just watch the product like top to bottom anymore. I wonder if people like get so tired of being in the product for so long, and then it gets to the point of they just kind of want to be away from it. So I don't know, but I always say, man, I love when people are marks for the business. I love when people are marks to still watch it and was in it for a while and still watch it like faithfully every week. I think that's just so cool. There's something super cool about that. So PNP Nation, how are y'all doing today? Looks like my mic is getting red. How y'all hearing me? Y'all hear me well out there? How's the audio? How's the volume? How's everything? Sports Huddle is in the building. How's everything? Mo's in the building. Lexi's in the building. Gabriel's in the building. Hear me good. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we got some headlines today. We got some Ask Chris questions, of course. Hashtag Ask Chris. We got some trivia. And then flavor of the week, you can call it Chris Masterclass, where you and he talk on the past wrestling eras and he shares behind the curtain stories. I like it. Masterclass. I like it. Yeah, so we also have the flavor of the week. We're going to talk about King of the Ring 1998. So with the King of the Ring passing and the Hell in a Cell coming, it's a perfect medium, perfect blend, because it was actually a Hell in a Cell match at King of the Ring. So there you go. There's the merge with that. They already don't they have something like that where celebrities share their craft and stuff? I don't know. I'll check it out. The Master Class. Let's see. I like it. That's a very catchy name though. The Master Class is a class given to students of particular discipline. Nope. So it's like an online class, but that patent wouldn't be that trademark wouldn't be that would be a different type of entertainment. So it wouldn't be like media. So yeah. So it looks like we're clear for now. If it was, master class would be the way to go. So what came up to my mind, and we're going to talk about a little bit today. So as Chris was talking, I was thinking about, because last time he's made it public, so I'll share because he's made it public. He was talking about how, I think either the last time he was on the show or the time before that, he wasn't he wasn't happy at all with his Impact TNA whatever run. And so I was thinking about that as he was talking, and how happy he is to just do indie work and continue to get, and which is a really good thing, to make a living just working on the weekends, getting booked in Hawaii and Pakistan. Are you kidding me? The grind has to be of course, you don't have like with working with bigger companies like WWE and so forth. I mean, they basically do the dates for you. They're your promoter. But when you do indie work now, it's easier to get gigs because yes, you're your own promoter, but people, companies like WWE, they've created a name for you enough for you to get some good bookings. I think that's really cool, man. To someone, a promotion in Pakistan said, "Hey, Chris Masters, let's book Chris Masters, a promotion in Hawaii." People dream to go to Hawaii. My wife and I, we about a few years ago, we were considering going to Hawaii for our anniversary, and those tickets are insanely expensive. Let's check and see. Let's check and see how much a ticket to Hawaii would be. Let's see. Let's just choose the capital, Honolulu. Ticket to Honolulu from where I live. Let's see. So if I was to catch a flight, it's saying that if I was to leave on Saturday, November the 2nd, for one way, for connecting. Okay, so it says connecting. Let's make sure that it's round trip. Okay, so it'll be a connecting flight. The shortest time is 11 hours and 40 minutes, and the cheapest is $623. Yeah, that's crazy. Mo, it'll be $748 for you. Yikes. That is a lot of money to go to Hawaii. So, if you want to go to Hawaii, you best to have a lot of money stored up for you. So I'm seeing like $578 for orbits. Okay, there you go. That's not including fees or anything, but $578 is still a lot. Still very expensive. Well, that's in January, so to be cheaper. Usually the closer you are, the more expensive it is. Yeah, I hear you, Mo. The only way you go is if you're stationed there. Speaking of that, you're in the Navy. So, first of all, thank you for serving once again. Mo, where have you been? Where you sail the seven seas in your naval journeys. What are some places you've been overseas? So there was a pretty funny picture you put up recently, I think it was. He was talking about I forgot what it was, but it said something. It was just like coast. It was just a horizon of water. And it was saying something like, you've been there. That's how cities look like to you, or destinations look like to you. It's just like a bunch of water. So I thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, yeah, you're in the Navy, so that would make sense. So, but yeah, so here's the thing. I was thinking as Chris was talking, I was thinking about Ring Ka King, and that's probably why, because Dave Lagana worked with Ring Ka King. That's probably what made me think of Ring Ka King was Dave Lagana. So Ring Ka King only lasted a few months, and Jerusalem was your favorite place you've been. Oh, that seems like that would be super, super dope to go to. My pastor's been to Jerusalem. He says really good things about it. I think one of my closest friends, the godmom to our kids, I think she's been to Israel. I don't remember what part of Israel, but I don't remember if it was Jerusalem, but yeah, Jerusalem I would love to go to Jerusalem, the Holy Land. So Rinka King. Who remembers Rinka King? Who remembers that? Croatia, Italy, Spain, Cyprus, Bahrain, Dubai, Portugal, and Greece. That's just a few places you've been. That's super awesome. Super awesome. Who has the best food, Mo? Who has the best food? What's up, GHP? Glad to have you on the show today. Yeah, so who remembers Rinka King? Portugal has the best food, Mo says. I've heard that Portugal food is really good. That's pretty dope. So I need to talk to somebody. I need to interview somebody about Rinka King. That was Italian food as wow. Okay. So the Italian food we have here, of course, is very counterfeit, right? Like it's American Italian food. It's what I've heard from people who's been in Italy before. So I watch a lot of food. I used to watch. I haven't as much, but I probably will again. I used to love watching like food shows. There was a history Food Factor Fiction. That's a show is really dope. And they would have a bunch of historical facts about food and stuff. Like about, I think they said something about Belgian waffles. Just a bunch of pretty cool stuff. Let's see, Food Factor Fiction. Let's see if I can find any. Secrets revealed. Let's see. From ketchup. It was a quiz. I don't know. I'm not going to do a quiz. Yeah, so I don't. There's just a bunch of promotions. Genghis Khan is connected to the creation of the hamburger. And then the origins of food too. There was one of them that it originally had an S with it's kind of like it was supposed to. There was something, I forgot what it was. Shepherd's pie, where that came from and the origin of that. Some really cool stuff, actually. Really cool stuff. Wanted to go to Rome and Paris. Nice. We're going to talk about how Mandy Rose is going down that Eva Marie path. Well, you know, that's the thing, JSP. When Vince sees busty blondes, you know, that's basically. It's funny because Eva Marie was redhead, but she still fit the mold as far as just that type of woman, you know, that type of female that's just kind of like this the stereotypical type, and you know, like the Tori Wilsons of this world. You know, it's sad that they have. If you look like that, you kind of have to be pigeonholed to that. Alexa says, Rome, Vatican City, Pompeii is a very spiritual journey. I would not recommend it unless you are grounded in your beliefs. Very interesting. Well, you know, I love apologetics, and so that would definitely be something I would go to, and I would film as well, and I would make a podcast out of it probably. So, yeah, she's the last diva. That's really interesting. That's a good point, GSP. All right, so who remembers Rinka King? I gotta interview someone, maybe Dutch Mantel. I want to interview someone who would shoot on Rinka King. Let me see from Rinka King who I've maybe Matt Morgan. Maybe you can talk about Rinka King. I think that's where I got Shearer from, Amabile Shearer. I've had Nick Dinsmore on my show before. He was a part of Rinka King. I've had Nick Aldis on my show twice. He was a part of Ring Ka King. Maybe we could talk about Ring Ka King. I've had Sanjay Dutt on my show twice, but he's with WWE now. So, the Bollywood Boys, you know, they're on 205 Live now. Jimmy Rave, he was supposed to come on my show like a couple years ago, but we fell out of contact. I need to see what he's up to. DJ Z, he's been on my show before, but he's with WWE now. Broadway and Hollywood, what? So wait a minute. So Little Guido and Joey Ryan was a tag team in Ring Ka King. I forgot all about that. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Harry Smith, he teamed with Chavo. That's an interesting tag team. That's odd. So Arya Daivari and Sean Daivari were the Sheiks. I didn't know that Arya Daivari was in Ring Ka King. That's interesting. Daivari's with WWE now. As far as I know, we kept in contact for a while. I've had Arya and Sean on I've had Sean on my show a bunch of times, like 5 times. I've had Arya on my show. I did not know that they were tag teaming in Ring Ka King. I never knew that. I gotta bring somebody. I've had RDX, Abyss, and Scott Steiner. Huh. I've had Abyss on my show before too. Wow, that's really, really interesting. I gotta bring somebody from Ring Ka King on the show, and we'll talk Ring Ka King. So, yeah, we gotta bring somebody from there on my show. Lexi's asking, there has been much speculation with the season premiere announcement, change of sets, and bolster of storylines that VKM is taking AEW as a credible threat. What are your thoughts? Fantastic question, Lexi. It's clear that AEW is a threat because they're on the mainstream. They're a mainstream television show, wrestling show. There has not been any other mainstream television wrestling show. WWE didn't take Impact Wrestling seriously because there was something about Impact Wrestling that didn't have a big feel to it. That's the thing about Impact Wrestling. It always had that second-rate feel to it. Now, granted, they just landed a spot with Access, which is super dope. Huge. Actually, I got the press release emailed to me. They emailed the press releases to the media. I got it emailed to me. I gotta find where it is. But that's really cool, man. I give them major kudos for that. Yeah, this morning I got it emailed to me. Access TV launches Impact Wrestling Tuesday nights at 8, with debut special starting October 1st. And the Impact premiere on October 29th. So 2 hours every Tuesday night on Access. That's a big deal, man. That's a really, really big deal. So they're really pushing Ken Shamrock as a big name for Impact now. He was the first champion. He was the first champion in Impact Wrestling. I don't know if y'all remember that. So, yeah, good stuff. TJP, Rich Swann, Tessa Blanchard, Rhino, RVD, Eddie Edwards, Sami Callihan, Moose, Tenille Dashwood, Italian Valkyrie, Rosemary, Malcolm Elgin. Those are all the people they named in their press release. So, yeah. Good stuff. Congratulations to Impact Wrestling. I'm all about good competition, so congrats on that. So that's awesome. Congrats to Impact Wrestling on that. All right, so let's get to these headlines, guys. Let's have some fun with these headlines. Y'all know what time it is. Let's see if there's any questions first before I get to these headlines. Let's see if there's any more Ask Chris questions. What's up, the leader? You missed Chris Masters. You missed a live Q&A with Chris Masters. Everyone ready to flip the channels back and forth. Yeah, that's what I used to do, man. But here's the joy about nowadays. Beforehand, Monday Night Wars, I literally had the remote and I was just flipping it back and forth. I had my hand on the remote the whole show on Monday nights, and I pushed that reset button until it was wore out. Because I would hit the reset button and it would go back to the other channel, and I would hit the reset button and just it goes back to the other channel, and that was super cool. But nowadays, like I have two laptops, a tablet, a phone, and two screens in my office. So I mean, I have tons of electronics that I can watch it on. I can watch, both shows at the same time. I've done that before, actually. I've watched, I was catching up with G1 Climax, and I was watching Raw on one screen and G1 Climax on the other screen. I've done that plenty of times, actually. All right, so another Ask Chris question, and we get to these headlines. From an outside point of view, Lexi's asking, it seems that WWE has abandoned the women's evolution with a lackluster booking of talent. Do you believe AEW will win in this category? You see Kurt Angle was the first TNA champ. See, he was the first champion when it became TNA championship. It started as the NWA championship, and Ken Shamrock won the Royal Rumble to crowned the first NWA TNA champ, and then they switched all the belts over when TNA left the NWA, and then Kurt Angle became the first TNA champ that way. But yeah, there's something about AEW's women division that hasn't really clicked with me yet. There's not a big storyline that's really on the map when it comes to the women's division right now. So I know that they unveiled the women's championship and things like that. They've got and the people they got vying for it. Yeah, I mean, it just really doesn't click with me yet. So unless you have a good story, I've said this many times, you can wrestle, you can do laps around the ring, in the ring and wrestle a catch-as-catch-can clinic. But it's like, yeah, I'll give you a "this is awesome" in my head. You know what I mean? Yeah, R-Truth was NWA champ twice, if I can recall, if I recall correctly. The first black NWA champion was R-Truth. How about that? Yeah, so yeah, you can just you can have wrestling matches until you're blue in the face, but if wrestling is all about just having really good matches in the ring, that doesn't stand out. What stands out if every match is good on the show and there's no character development. So when Brandy Rhodes is one of your main ladies, yeah, depth is really, really, really lacking. That's a good point. I would tend to agree with that, actually. I would tend to agree with that. Indeed, I would. All right, so let's do this, guys. You ready for it? You ready for the headlines? Well, I'm ready for the headlines. So without further ado, let's get this rolling. Headlines. Here we go. let's start with the pyro. Let's start with the pyro one. Here we go. So the WWE wants pyro. They want to bring back pyro. So they're allegedly bringing back pyro because of the money acquired. There's Russell Votes actually. They get credit for announcing this. Allegedly because of the money rolling in. Because of the deals and things like that, to really to really add to the product again. There's going to be some competition again. It's that competitive feel again. There's many many variables of why it could be coming back, but there's supposed to be pyro coming back on Raw and SmackDown. So that is a big deal. I am a huge fan of that, man. I've been saying this for a long time, that one of the things that help develop characters, and I say this a lot, it's because I don't understand how you wouldn't agree with how important it is to develop characters in the WWE, just in pro wrestling, period. And it takes much more than just wrestling in the ring. You've got your wardrobe matters, your theme music matters. Pyro, just imagine Kane's career without any pyro over the past 22 years. Like, if he didn't get any pyro, if he didn't do the whole, thing in the ring, and it'd just be nothing, just, you got to think about that. Think about Brock Lesnar for a lot of his career, when he would, when he did the, bouncing back side to side, and when he would do that, he would have the pyro come out. It's just a level of excitement when that person is in the entrance, and they got that moment, and it just jacks them up, excites them, and just gets them real pumped. And then when Lesnar would jump on the ring, he would have the pyro. Taker would do the whole thing. But Edge, when he came out, he had a big pyro. Kurt Angle, of course, when he would, do the hands in the air and the pyro would go off. Batista, definitely Batista, with the bazookas. Of course, Jericho. Jericho, it really, really helped Jericho's career. So pyro has really been a huge influence, a huge assist in a lot of people's career. It's really helped them go to the next level. Booker T as well, when he would just do the whole thing and the flames would come up. It really helped a lot of people's career. It's such a big, big contribution, and it's weird. I understand that they were cost cutting and things like that, and there's also going to be new sets too. So that's really dope too. Because this generic Raw and SmackDown set, it just really seemed like it just really seems like WWE was cost cutting so much that they really lost the core of what made them get where they were. I understand from a business standpoint, you got to cost cut, you got you got salaries to pay. You got, media and things like that. There's a lot. I understand that, but at the same time, developing the characters got you to where you are. Vince McMahon is worth $3 billion at this point, and WWE is reaching record high revenue rates over the past few years. So you're making money clearly. From digital media and things like that, and all different types of streams within the company of how they're making money. Now NXT wasn't really a money maker, but at the same time they had enough money to feed NXT to make it be on the network now, on network television. And so it's just it's kind of like spend money to make money type of thing. So I think it would be really important, and I'm excited about it. Really, I really am excited about it. I think it's very, very important, very necessary to have pyro, And I think it really will help a lot of people's characters if you give them pyro. I'm really excited about who they're going to give pyro to and how they're really going to help their characters. Because it just, it's of course Brock's going to have it. Kofi had it too when he would do the boom boom. He had pyro too. So I think that's I think that it just automatically adds a level of excitement, and it kind of elevates the character when you say, okay, we're going to spend money to give you pyro. Obviously, there's an investment that we want to make in you, and I'm a big fan of that. JSP is saying, tell me why did they have Kane do the pyro gesture on Raw 2 weeks ago, but pyro wasn't back yet? Yeah, he said it a few times. And I'm like, that's odd. Yeah, I agree, Gabriel. AJ needs his pyro back too. I agree. He's had that Ryback pyro recently. When Ryback, and the crazy thing is Ryback never had. He would do the feed me more. It's feeding time, and it would always be the fake pyro. And I always thought that was so funny, man. He never had a real pyro. But yeah, Kane has done that a few times with the fake pyro, and then Lesnar would do the the arm pump, the fist pump, reverse fist pump type thing, and double fist pump, and it would be nothing. Like he would just be on the ramp, and he would just get hyped and just do like that, and it just nothing, no pyro, no nothing, and I'm like, yeah, that makes it really weird. So I'm really, really happy that they're getting pyro back, and I think it's a really cool addition to Raw and SmackDown. It actually excites me because it really shows me that they're really finally spending time to get back to the brass tacks of it, to get back to the point of them really wanting to develop characters, and that's the reason why they keep going to the Legends well. It's because they keep doing that because they don't have characters being developed right now. There's nobody except for maybe Roman Reigns. There's no full-time WWE competitor right now that has a transcend the business feel to them. None. Name me one. Name me one person that has a larger-than-life transcend the business feel to their character. Name me one person. I would say Roman Reigns, because he has a large. He's in theater now. With the Hobbs and Shaw. But name me one full-time person in WWE that has a larger than life. They're going to transcend the business feel to it. Charlotte, but that's the closest. I'll slightly grant you Charlotte, but you're right. That's the closest. I'll slightly grant you Charlotte. I agree. I'll agree with that. It's a thin line though. Yep, I agree with that assessment. Yep, that's where I'm at. I'll slightly grant you Charlotte. We'll do that, but that's it. And still Charlotte still has that WWE feel to her, right? And she's a Flair, that helps. So yeah, I mean, not except for possibly Charlotte, and like I said, Roman Reigns. Who else? Who else is in the? You got dozens of people. You have dozens of talent on the roster, and you can't give me less. And we can only come up with two people who has that feel that they've transcended the company. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. I mean, like in old school WWE days, I mean, characters was so important. You can give me a Sergeant Slaughter with G.I. Joe. You know what I mean? Of course, Hogan, Savage, Andre. There were so many. I remember King Kong Bundy was doing shows and stuff like that because he was so popular. He was on TV shows. And so like there was just there were so many people that had such a larger than life feel to them that they'll just in a heartbeat pop up on the show and be a surprise guest on the show because they were already known. Meanwhile, we were spoiled with Hogan, DDP, Macho, Andre, Slaughter, Warrior, Sting. Yeah, I mean, there's so many from 85 to 2000. In that I would even say 80. 80 to 2000. That 20-year span, there was so many wrestlers that had that larger than life feel. That was the transcended the business. Of course, you got the Bruno. Even before that, you had Adrian Adonis. So he was early '80s. You had Gorgeous George. You had Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. So there was still plenty of names even before like a boom period. I would say probably the boom period of WWE started in the early '80s. So this pro wrestling period. I would say the boom period started in the early '80s because at that time, Crockett was started to get pretty popular within the NWA territory. You had GCW, Georgia Championship Wrestling. You had Championship Wrestling from Florida. You had AWA. You had World Class, in the early '80s. So that was definitely a boom. The early '80s was definitely a boom period in wrestling. So early '80s to early to about 2000, probably the end of the Monday Night Wars, and then you had like the Cena's, and I would say Cena and Lesnar. I would say in the past 20 years since '99, I would say Austin Rock, Cena, and Lesnar is probably the people that's really transcended the business. Edge. Not really ish. I mean, not too much. He wasn't like a larger than life character. He was just a loyal WWE guy that was rewarded for being just a very, definitely Batista. Definitely Batista. He's a star now in the movies, but Edge was more of a really good WWE guy. So yeah. I wouldn't even give Miz as a WWE guy. He's just a loyal WWE guy. Is it true about Mickey James coming back to do commentary or backstage producer? I think either or will work for her. I would be interested to see where she sounds like on NXT. See Sports Huddle. No. See, Jericho's in my top 5. He's actually he's in my top 5 all time, but I wouldn't say Jericho's larger than life because Jericho had such a win-loss record during his pro wrestling career that he never kind of like became like top echelon. Like he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Definitely notable, but because of his win-loss record, like he wasn't someone who had the feel of just kind of breaking the main event mold because people here's a thing with wins and losses matter, man. I mean, people can say what they want, but I mean if you look at Austin's record when he was feuding with Vince McMahon, Steve Austin didn't lose many matches, and that was on purpose, and I think that's important. So wins and losses matter. You got to book somebody strongly and let them lose very rarely. So I think that's important. JSP says, I get what you're saying. That person that pretty much can transition easily without wrestling. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So that's the pyro piece. Let's get to the next thing. So the revival. So here's the crazy thing about this. So Fightful's reporting that the Revival has yet to sign WWE contracts, and WWE is actually putting the belts on them potentially to kind of swerve them to sign contracts. Now, I thought this thing was over a while ago. I thought they already signed contracts earlier this year, but according to Fightful, they have not yet. So that was very, very odd. So that's very, very interesting. I find it odd that the WWE would say, we're going to give you the belts to kind of swerve you to to sign. Let me see about this report here. Has made some renewed efforts. WWE has made some renewed efforts to sign the Revival. As of the Clash of Champions SmackDown title win, they have not signed new deals. So, and that was as of last week. So, and this was reported 2 days ago. So, I find that very interesting. I find it very odd too. That the WWE, if this report is indeed true, I find it very odd that the WWE would give them the titles, and they're Raw guys too, and so I think that's just really weird. They gave them the SmackDown titles, and I was hearing on the commentary, they're like, yeah, they're the first Raw SmackDown. They're the first ever team to be Raw, SmackDown, and NXT champions. So they were really like pumping them up and everything. So that's really interesting. I find that to be very odd that they would do that for the Revival. Honestly, I've never been a Revival guy. I don't know. There's something that's disconnected to. I liked in the NXT. I liked the old Minnesota Wrecking Crew feel to them, but I don't know. There's just something that just doesn't connect with me when it comes to Revival. I don't think they really are. I don't know. I don't think their characters are strong enough. Good in the ring, very solid in the ring, but I don't know. I mean, when they were heels, feuding against Enzo and Cass, and I think it was Enzo and Cass, right? Enzo and Cass, and also American Alpha. When they were feuding against them, those are like American Alpha and Enzo and Cass. Like they were two like huge baby face teams. And the Revival feuding against them really helped because they were really good heels in NXT. But their main roster run, it's kind of forgettable to me. And it's not really been it feels more WCW. I agree with that. AEW, I can see that too. The leader says he feels the same way. Honestly, most of these tag teams that come up from the NXT, I don't really care much about. Yeah, I agree. Let's see what they're going to do with AOP too. They're having, they're trying to seemingly they're having them talk. I'm cool with these promos they're doing, kind of, but that's kind of like the death knell to a lot of these big man, gimmicks. Once you get them start talking so much, like that just kind of throws it away. That just kind of defeats the purpose. And when they had Ellering, I think that was so dope when they had Ellering, man. It made them look like legitimate, like bad guys. And it really had a really super, super dope appeal to them when they were Ellering. Now, Drake Maverick was really weird to me when he was with them. I think they need a manager. I'd be cool if they were with Sami Zayn. Honestly, I'd be totally cool if Sami Zayn started his own little faction or something like that. And if Sami Zayn managed AOP, the only thing is though with Sami Zayn, the reason why I would like it because he would draw the heel heat. But the reason why I don't think it would work is because he draws so much heat to himself, and if you want the heat on the heels, you like the manager always has to play second fiddle to the wrestler, and it was a huge issue with that with Paul Heyman with all of his Heyman guys. I've had this conversation before. Other than Lesnar, CM Punk was really the only successful Heyman guy. Why? Because Heyman was more over than everybody else he managed. He was more over than Cesaro. He was more over than Curtis Axel. And his heat as a heel, it didn't help Axel or Cesaro because he was more over than both of them. Now, he plays that complimentary role to Lesnar and CM Punk. He wasn't more over than CM Punk. He definitely isn't more over than Lesnar. So it helps. So he complements and he puts that heat on Lesnar and Punk, and that really helps them as a manager. But it didn't help when he had all these Paul Heyman guys. It didn't help. When even with Show, Show was over enough by himself. And I understand, when Show turned on Lesnar and things like that. I get it. And Heyman helped in a sense. But still, Punk and Lesnar, both of them were so over by themselves that it's like they don't need Heyman. Heyman's a very good addition, a very good cherry on the cake. The cake is good without the cherry, but the cherry makes it better on the cake, so to speak. And so with Curtis Axel and with Cesaro, they weren't the cake. Heyman was the cake, and they were the cherries on the Paul Heyman cake. They were Paul Heyman guys. So it didn't work out. That's why I think, with Sami Zayn and AOP, that might be the case, and so you need a kind of like a straight guy for that type of intensity, and that's the reason why I think Ellering works so well. So if you bring somebody in, it would have to be some type of kind of straight-laced figure. So it'll be interesting who they bring in. So that's why I think, I don't know, Nakamura, his heel run has been just terrible to me. It's been just horrible. He needs to turn face quickly. He's been a heel for a year and a half almost, and it's not done anything. Yes, he was U.S. champ. He's Intercontinental champ, but his popularity has been just suspect, and he was much more over as a babyface. And the Sammy thing, I get it. They're trying to get more heat on him, but Sammy, he draws heat by himself. That's the reason why I'm glad that. Yeah, still though, I was gonna say I'm glad that Sammy's not doing too much to draw heat by himself. To himself, but still at the same time, it's like, it's still not. I don't think it's really helping Nakamura. We need face Nakamura back. Gabriel's asking, would some talent re-signing with Impact? I think that's what you mean, not resigning. Okay, so resigning. Okay, so yeah, resigning. Who's resigning? I know LAX left. Who else is leaving Impact? I know that, LAX is the only big names that I know that's leaving. Who could you see signing with Impact that would help bolster the roster and help their own career as well? Who could I see signing with Impact that's a free agent right now? Can help bolster their careers. Impact is a really Morrison left, didn't he? I think Morrison left. Or let's see. Yeah, I think he left Impact Wrestling already. Yeah, earlier this year. Yep, finished up this summer. But yeah, who's out there? Oh, I wonder if someone like probably because he won't do it because of traveling. But I wonder if someone like a Tanahashi signs with Impact. That would be really interesting. The thing is, because of the travel, like, it'll be difficult to sign people from New Japan. But it's not live every week, though. But that's a lot of money with traveling. They've brought back Havoc, Rhino, Joey Ryan for the time being, and someone else, too, I believe. The dude from NXT right now that came from New Japan, that would be Kushida King from New Japan. Yeah, I mean, but you know, Havoc, Rhino's a bigger name, but Havoc and Joey Ryan, I mean, they're not really needle movers, you know, so to speak. You know, they have their own indie following for sure, but they're not like needle movers when it comes to boosting the product. I would say, you know, there were talks of Jericho for a hot second, but he's with AEW. There's really no one. I mean, unless they offer CM Punk a huge deal. But I wouldn't see him in a wrestling role, maybe commentating. I mean, he's still, you know, he's about to be 41. So he's still got some juice left in him. But it's been so long since he's wrestled. So Enzo and Cass, I mean, when Cass, you know, gets his rehab and self together and things like that, that would help. Yeah, they brought back Mobley Shearer. I saw that. He looks like $1 million. I saw his entrance. He had, and he attacked. When he attacked the team and pledged his allegiance. Yeah, I would say as far as a needle mover, I'll say if I'm just throwing a name out there based on everybody who's free agents. There's not a lot of free agents. James Storm. Well, he's NWA though. He's NWA North American champion. Which is he's you know, definitely a good addition to NWA. Yeah, there's really not anybody out there as far as, because Eli Drake left. He's in NWA now. Nick Aldis left. He's in NWA. Yeah, free agents, right? With a Z. Yeah, Enzo and Cass. That would be it. Yeah, Storm is getting them gains. He is, man. He looks great. For sure. All right, let's see what other Ask Chris questions we have. Let's see. I thought I saw another one on here. GHP's asking, what team do you think will split for the brand split? That's typically a knee-jerk move. They just want to. It just seems like there's no end game almost every time they do that. I think they probably will reunite a team. They'll probably reunite the Bar because Cesaro just by himself is just a bad call, man. He's not doing anything, and Sheamus is cleared to return. So I can see them, I'm kind of giving you a reverse answer. I can see them reuniting the Bar. As far as splitting a team, maybe the B team, but, they need as many teams as they possibly can have right now. Hawkins and Ryder possibly. They probably, but here's the thing. Why does it matter? Why does this matter, right? Because if they split a team and they're both still low on the card, it doesn't even matter. Like, the split is just pointless. You're just wasting time. You're wasting a pick. You're wasting a split. It's stupid. Because if I'm splitting someone and they're still on another, they're on the other brand and still the same as they were, it's the lateral move. And who cares? Like, that's how Apollo Crews is. It was a move from Raw to SmackDown, and it was a lateral move. So basically, he's jobbing out to people on SmackDown now instead of jobbing out to people on Raw. That makes the brand split. That makes the people going to the brand split, moving over. That makes it pointless. Like, if you're going to move people over to start really good feuds. That would be the only reason to do that. Otherwise, if you're just giving people lateral moves to be a jobber or an enhancement talent on Raw and now on SmackDown, it's just a pointless move. It's pointless and stupid. Mo's asking, you think they're going move title belt to other shows? Of course, it would have to be, mid-card titles moving. Unless they move Brock to Raw with the WWE Championship, but they would have a red belt on SmackDown, which brings us to point number 3. Fox is wanting the Fiend to be on SmackDown, so there's a war, there's a civil war with Raw and SmackDown now of where Bray Wyatt's going to go. Of course, Heyman wants him. Heyman and company wants him on Raw still, but Fox wants him on SmackDown. So, right now you want to please the network, so that would be interesting to see Bray on SmackDown. I think he's better for Raw. I think he's better for the Raw brand. That would be better to me. Yeah. How does the Fiend fit the sports brand of WWE on SmackDown? Exactly. It's SmackDown's always been like more of a sporty, competition, more of an in-ring type of branding to it. But yeah, interestingly enough, as much as a sports type of theme that Fox wants, bringing the Fiend over would definitely not be that, but yeah, I can see, as far as just moving the titles, to me, I can see Brock beating Kofi. But it would be odd to have Brock be on SmackDown, though, on Friday nights, live on Friday nights. I don't see Brock wanting to, spare his weekend, to be on SmackDown often. At least, periodically while he's champ. So, and then do you want to build SmackDown, because if Brock, if Brock wins the title, he's not going to be there every week. That's for one. And for two, since he's not going to be there every week, you would have to build the second title to be the main title on a Fox show, on a SmackDown show that just went over to Fox, that wants to pull all the strings that they possibly can to have, top tier talent be on there. That's the reason why reportedly Goldberg's coming back on that show. So it would be interesting to see, and they have a big anniversary. I think they have like a 20-year thing coming up too. So yeah. It would be interesting to see. I can see Goldberg. I can see Brock going over to Raw, and Raw building, building it around the U.S. title, like AJ keeping the U.S. title and kind of having that top feel to it, since Brock's going to be gone. And AJ's, he's a main event talent, so he would be just fine, making that U.S. title kind of like the premier championship while Brock is champ, while he's away as champion. But in all honesty, as much as I like Cedric, and he's been on my show before, so I got mad respect for him. But if Brock goes over to Raw and Seth goes over to and then because that appease Fox, right? And then Brock can go over to Raw as WWE champion. So in that scenario, it would work. So you would have Bray as champ come over to SmackDown. So that would be interesting. Yeah, I can definitely see that happening, actually. So we may get that. We may get Bray as Universal Champion to SmackDown, although I think putting the title on him would be way too soon to do that. I would not be a fan of that. But WWE is not very good with drawing out and developing characters, so I can definitely see that happening. I can see Bray winning and moving over to SmackDown. Let's see whether I ask Chris questions. I hope I didn't miss any. I didn't miss any. Did I? Hope not. Let's see. That was a good. What team I think split? Okay, I already answered that. All right. So I think that's. I think there's one more I saw. All right, here we go. Do I see NXT being a legit third brand, even with Raw and SmackDown? Or does it stay a new signing developmental talent brand? I still think it will have that type of developmental feel to it. Yeah, I think it'll still have a developmental feel to it. It'll be marketed as a third brand, but it'll still have that developmental feel to it. Something I thought about real quick was for all the people who are in the development in the performance center right now, and I got some decent names that's in the PC. For all the people who are in the PC right now, they should have like their own brand. They should have like they don't have to be televised. Like it probably shouldn't be televised. But they should have their own thing. I think that would be pretty dope. Like if WWE had like a WWE PC champion and actually had like, because there's some reputable names at the PC. So with all the people who are in the PC, you can say like they can have their own little internal thing. Like we don't need to know who the PC champion is, or we don't need to know all that. Maybe if they want to do something on a network, to do like a documentary or they have their own YouTube channel. So maybe like if they, did it on their YouTube channel, I think that'd actually be kind of cool if they did it on the YouTube channel. I know that, what's her name? Casey Catanzaro. She was on the PC YouTube channel. Yeah, that would be interesting if they did that. That would be interesting if they did that, like a PC champion on the YouTube channel. That would be pretty cool. All right, what's up, Tammy? Good to have you on the chat today. All right, so what grades would you give? What brand do the women's tag titles stay on? Do they? Yeah, the women's tag is cross branded. Okay. What grades will you give Raw and SmackDown? PC 24/7 champ. Yeah, but I think if they had like a WWE PC champion, and it'd be on like the YouTube channel, that would be pretty cool. I think that would boost up the YouTube channel if they had like a PC champion, and the PC champion, gets to, that's kind of like their reward while they're being developed, and then as their champion, it'll kind of like graduate them to. I mean, they can defend the championships and things like that, but it'll kind of graduate them to the main roster. So, or at least NXT. So, GSP says D and C. Gabriel says B and C. Let me get some trivia. Here's some trivia. What championship did Jerry Lynn hold in WWE? How about that? What championship did Jerry Lynn hold? Jerry Lynn, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? And the WWE. What did he hold in WWE? No, he didn't hold the ECW championship in WWE. What did he hold in the WWE? Nope. There you go. Somebody's got it right. Mo does. Light heavyweight. Good job. Light heavyweight. All right. One more. Here we go. Ready? Too Cold Scorpio was known as blank in WWE. Too Cold Scorpio was known as blank in WWE. As far as Raw and SmackDown is concerned, yeah, I mean, I like this Shane and Owens thing. Another Hell in a Cell match between those two. The second one between those two. Oh, actually, there's a ladder match. It didn't even show. They didn't even say when it was going to be. It just said ladder match. I wonder if that's going to be a ladder match at Hell in a Cell. That would be quite interesting. Kind of like when what was it? Oh gosh, it was what was the pay-per-view? Was it Elimination Chamber that Cena went against Kane in the ambulance match? It was a different gimmick pay-per-view. It was a gimmick match at a different gimmick pay-per-view. Elimination Chamber 2012. The gimmick was Elimination Chamber, but the main event was Cena and Kane in the ambulance match. Now that was really weird. I found out to be very odd. Flash Funk. Yes, good job. Mo is on a roll. Mo is on a roll today. I might have one more trivia question. No, he didn't come out to that. So I give SmackDown a oh, shots fired. Deleter. Shots fired. Says Mo, you quick with the Google. That's funny. I thought that the end of SmackDown was stupid. I've said this many times before. I do not like a lot of physicality before matches on pay-per-views. That's stupid. Like, you have to leave us wanting. You have to do that. Eric Bischoff says that a lot. And I've said that for a long time. You have to leave people wanting. And you got to set up cliffhangers. Like, if they're sitting there beating, and this is what made it even worse. Now, if Sasha Banks would have just like totally blindsided her and like hit her with something and knocked her out that way, I can get it. But they actually did a brawl. They did a brawl, and this is what just took it totally south. Becky Lynch actually had a slight glimpse of when she actually had the upper hand. And Sasha Banks regained the upper hand while they were fighting. So that goes to show you that Becky Lynch just got beat up. And that's a terrible way to book your babyface right before the big match. That's terrible. So it's like, okay, so if there was some type of slimy, dastardly type of heel thing, okay, I can possibly do that. I would say no physicality, but if they did it that way to just draw some heel heat, I'm fine with that. But don't allow Becky Lynch to get some type of advantage and then lose the advantage. You just got beat up. And so that's basically what happens. Like, if I got into a fight with somebody who like blindsided me and I got the upper hand once again, like if I got the upper hand and I'm at an advantage and I become disadvantaged again, I just got beat up. Like, that's basically, it wasn't like, it's no longer a sneak attack when that happens. You just got beat up. And that's what happened. And that's what happened with Becky Lynch. And it's like, that just takes away so much of your baby face type of, feel that you want her to have. You got your butt kicked by Sasha Banks. Or as Tony Atlas would say, Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks. Rowan and Daniel Bryan, they're really putting some I'm still not sold on Bludgeon Brothers 2.0, but I think finally they have they're not over gimmicked now. They're not over gimmicked. So they've developed, they've put in enough heat on Rowan to make it seem like, legitimate. So I'm cool with that in that regard. But at the same time, there's still something about this whole thing that makes it seem like Daniel Bryan is still turning. So it still seems like Daniel Bryan's going to turn on Reigns and side with BB 2.0. What the heck's going on with Mike Kanellis? That's so sad. At least the New Day got a win. And at least the Kabuki Warriors, ladies and gentlemen, got a win. How about that? The Kabuki Warriors. How about that? So, overall, SmackDown, C+, Raw, C-. I like the Mysterio thing. That was cool. I was a fan of that. Mysterio versus Seth Rollins on the, quote, season premiere. That's a good look. That's a good look to it. I'm glad that they're actually making Mysterio look legitimate, that he's been winning a lot lately. Again, wins and losses matter, like I said. He's been winning lately more, so he looks more legitimate. Now, the whole Bray Wyatt thing, let's talk about that real quick. And their poor EC3 and poor Ember Moon. That's probably the reason why I didn't like Raw that much. Like, they just they're sabotaging Ember Moon. What did Ember Moon do? to make WWE book her so poorly? Please, someone tell me. Like, you had a tried and true anomaly, mysterious, super dope gimmick, awesome in the ring, one of the best finishing moves in all of professional wrestling, amazing in NXT, and you just bring her up to the main roster and she's chasing for the 24/7 championship and tapping out to Lacey Evans, who did one of the poorest looking sharpshooters I've ever seen in my life. That's what happens. That's what happens with Ember Moon. That's absolutely horrible. What did she do? What did she do to deserve that type of booking? And the thing is, how in the world? See, that's the reason why you can't really salvage people like that. It becomes so much more difficult to really try to restore. Try to restore people like that, because you had something so good and now she's tapping out to one of the worst sharpshooters in the world I've ever seen in my life. I was okay with the Bray thing. He ended up getting beat up afterwards, actually, by Seth Rollins off air. But I didn't like what they did with Strowman, though. I didn't like how Strowman took the fall, and it was the fall guy for that. I didn't like that, actually. She can't cut a good promo, complain backstage about Nia being unsafe if VCam doesn't get her gimmick. There's mystique to it. It's dope. She doesn't have to cut a good promo because her whole point was to I mean, not to you, Lexi. I'm just talking about based on those accusations there. She should have complained backstage about Nia being unsafe, because a lot of people have complained about her being unsafe. And as far as cutting a good promo, she shouldn't be talking. That's what worked at NXT. She hardly ever said anything. So that's why she should do that. Or here's the thing. If Vince McMahon doesn't see anything in her, put her back on NXT. You have 3 brands now. If Vince McMahon don't see anything in Apollo Crews or Ember Moon, NXT did. Put him back in NXT. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this flavor of the week real quick. Here we go.
It is now time for the flavor of the week.
All right. King of the Ring 1998. Real quick, Gabriel says, for the win that Leo Rush got last week on NXT, can we get a Lashley? Channing Leo's. I got you. Lashley, my man. There you go. All right, King of the Ring 1998, which a lot of people don't realize that the Hell in a Cell match actually was not the main event. It was Kane versus Stone Cold in the first blood match. A lot of people forget that. So you had the Headbangers defeating Kai and Tai. Actually, the Headbangers and Taka defeating Kai and Tai in the 6-man match. Ken Shamrock defeating Jeff Jarrett with Tennessee Lee. I've actually had him on my show, Colonel Robert Parker. That was the King of the Ring semifinal. Then The Rock defeating Dan Severn in less than 4.5 minutes. I gotta watch that match again. The Rock beating Dan Severn in that fast. That's surprising. I forgot about that. Too Much before they were too cool. They beat Al Snow and Head with Lawler as the special guest referee. That's very interesting. X-Pac defeating Owen Hart. New Age Outlaws retaining the tag team championships by defeating the New Midnight Express, Bodacious Bart and Bombastic Bob. That was an odd angle. Ken Shamrock defeating The Rock for the King of the Ring finals, and then of course you got Taker and Mankind, and then Kane defeating Stone Cold. This song is actually from my dude Intellect. It's called Excursion. So that is the credit of this song. You have to admit, PNP has some of the dopest songs on the PNP playlist, don't they? Don't we? Don't I? I enjoy. I love. I'm a big gospel fan. Love God. I'm a Christian DJ. Love God. I love jazz. I love jazz. I really love like chill hop. That's like one of my favorite things to listen. I love chill hop instrumentals. Chill hop instrumentals all day long. I can listen to them. Absolutely. A lot of the intro stuff, like the intro songs, I listen to a lot. Of course, this outro song I listen to a lot. Like I love the chill hop type of vibe. I can listen to that all day long. I do. I listen to typically Christian rap and chill hop and jazz, chill hop instrumentals and jazz daily. So, but I'm a podcast guy. I like
90 seconds.
I'm a big theology buff. I have my own apologetics podcast. So I listen to look at, like when I'm doing cardio at the gym, I'll look at it like a theology apologetics video. My Cheesemo music, I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. That is 391 episodes in the books. Special thanks to my boy Chris Masters being on the show. It's been a pleasure with the PNP Nation. As always, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of 391 episodes with Chris Masters, it's hard to just fathom that it's been 391 episodes. Yes, thank you, Tammy. Hit that thumbs up. And guys, comment, man. Make some comments. As soon as you hop off of that, go to the comment board on Twitter. I mean, not on Twitter, but on YouTube, and show your support by commenting as well, other than hitting that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Other than that, God bless you all. Have a good week, and always remember, I'll do it for you. Have a good night. Peace.